Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Desert Tiger Podcast. I am your host, as always, here on Thursdays and sometimes on Tuesdays, Colton Geschwantner. I hope that you are enjoying yourself on this wonderful Thursday, October the 12th of 2017, or whatever day you are listening to the podcast. I hope that you're having yourself a great time. Today on episode 3, we have the Screaming Females from New Brunswick, New Jersey. We were recently joined by Marissa, Mike, and Jared of the Screaming Females, and we talked to them about how they ended up meeting and how they formed the band, what their songwriting process is like, and how they wrote the song Black Moon. And we're also going to talk to them about their current tour with Street Eater and how that's going. But before we get to that, we have a few other things to get to, like letting you know what our book review of the week is this week. Our book review of the week this week is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. It is a very good read, and I enjoyed it very much. Well, it was more of a listen for me, as I had to audiobook it for what was my first audiobooking ever. And I must say, I kind of enjoyed the audiobook experience, and it is something I might have to do more often with how much I'm on the road. It helped out a lot, and considering all my books are packed since I'm moving in 5 days to Kamloops, that's right, 5 days till the big move, all my books are packed up, so having options like audiobooks definitely helps out when you're getting to your book review of the week. I am a huge fan, and I am probably going to have to continue using those here and there, especially next week when I'm going to be driving, because there's no other way I'm going to get a book review done during that time. So without wasting any more of your time, let's get into our song of the day. And before we get into our song of the day, we need to let you know how to apply to be the song of the day. So if you are a band looking to get your music out there and want to be played on one of the shows in which we do not have a musical guest, you can email us here at Desert Tiger Podcast at desert.tiger.podcast@gmail.com with a small description of your band and a link to your song. Once again, that is desert.tiger.podcast@gmail.com with a small description of your band and a link to your song. Our song of the day today comes to us from the Screaming Females, who are also our interview. And the Screaming Females, like I said earlier, are from New Brunswick, New Jersey, and they are a hard rock / hard punk band with 6 full-length albums, 2 EPs, and their recent release, the single Black Moon, which is going to be our song of the day. You're going to hear about what created Black Moon later on in the show, so I hope you enjoy the song, and I hope you enjoy the interview, which we're going to get into right after Black Moon by the Screaming Females. All right, we're here with the Screaming Females from New Brunswick, New Jersey. Could you please introduce who you are and what you play in the band?
My name's Jarrett. I play drums.
My name is Mike, and I play the bass.
My name's Marissa, and I play guitar and sing.
Okay, how did you guys end up meeting, and how long have you been a band?
I have known Mike for most of my life. We went to school together, and we started a band when Mike was in high school and right before I left to go to college, called Surgery on TV. We started hanging out in high school and playing music together in this after-school club that was creatively called Music Club. And then I didn't go very far to go to college, just like a 30-minute drive, 45 minutes. At Rutgers University, and that's where I met Jarrett, who was helping what was to become a bunch of mutual friends put out like a local comp through the university, and I had 2 songs on that comp, and when I went to go pick up my copy of the compilation, Jarrett introduced himself and said he played drums, and I was like, oh, you should be in my band.
Awesome. How did you guys end up settling on the name the Screaming Females?
There's no the.
Oh, how did you end up... Sorry. How did you end up settling on the name Screaming Females?
We had a show booked at the house like in New Brunswick, and we didn't have a band name yet. So then there was like a book of contemporary poetry on Jarrett's coffee table, and I think we just like wrote a bunch of stuff down until one of them seemed to be good enough to put on the flyer. So we didn't really put that much thought into it, which is probably the best way to come up with a band name.
Yeah, for sure. I was kind of interested in that, considering there was no screaming and there was only one actual female in the band.
They're screaming.
Some screaming, yeah.
It's more of a concept, whereas it's like I think it's an interesting concept, and it's ambiguous enough that you can get personal meaning out of it, which it seems very few people do because they just assume it to be literal. But it's confusing to me because often other bands are not literal names, like Talking Heads have bodies and aren't just heads, the people in the band.
It's true. It's very true. Okay, so what is your guys' songwriting process like, and how has it changed over your 4 full-length albums, as well as your new single, Black Moon?
We usually just get together and kind of mess around until something sticks, and then we say, that was cool, do it 4 times, and then try doing something else after that, and then it kind of turns into a song. Every once in a while, Marissa might come to practice with a song already done that we
sometimes we get wild and it's 3 times.
Rearrange. Yeah, sometimes it's 3 times.
7
sometimes
times.
it's 6 times.
Yeah,
it's not always 4, but 4 is like the starting point, you know.
Yeah, you gotta
4 or
start
8
somewhere.
or 16.
4 or 8, yeah. Sets of 4.
Yeah, sets of 4 make a lot of sense.
Sometimes you drop in a 5th one to kind of like
It's called a
throw
fake out.
listener for a little loop, you know.
Or like if you have one at the beginning that's just like drums and bass, or it's just guitar, then you have to figure out if that one counts or not.
Stop giving away all the secrets.
Or if you're doing
Masterful
if you're doing mostly sets of 4 and you want to like create a sense of unease with the listener, sometimes you'll drop in a set of 3. And it leaves this incomplete feeling. It kind of invokes a certain emotion.
Kind of steals that last bar, sort of
Yeah,
thing.
like leaves you like, you know, you're latched onto this pattern of hearing things in 4. All of a sudden you hear just 3 of them, and it moves on to the next thing.
And you're left expecting more.
Maybe the lyrics are something that might be despondent or sad, or might be a song about feeling incomplete. Then all of a sudden the structure of the actual song instrumentation of the song is incomplete, and it kind of ties the whole idea together.
My mind is blown.
That was a really good answer. So what is the idea behind Black Moon then? Like lyrically and energetically, I guess, like instrumentation.
Energetically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we were writing like the music before we wrote any lyrics or anything. We were talking about the band Vacation a lot, which is probably seems weird in retrospect, listening to it now, but the chorus is definitely like, I think still recalls Vacation. They're from Ohio. And
the chorus sounds like Vacation.
Yeah, we went on like a really big tour with them and just had like the best time. And so they're one of my favorite bands. I mean, one of our favorite bands. So that was what we were thinking about musically for certain passages in
And
the
the
song,
verse
not
was
the
like
whole
a
thing.
big open sort of like metal sound is what I was envisioning. Even though it's definitely not a metal riff, but
Yeah,
opening it up
something
and
more like early Queens
Like
of the
Stone
Stone
Age,
Age
yeah.
or something, like
Okay.
desert psych metal.
yeah.
But also that song was one of the ones that Marissa brought in with like some kind of set ideas already that were actually like terribly confusing to work with because of this weird feel change. So that was one of the things that like we were able to work on as a unit to really link these different sections that she had really cool sections already built to try to like form them into a whole, which is kind of like a big part of what I think our songwriting process is about, rather than just be like, okay, that's weird. We're like, let's work on it and make sure we can make these two different sections that are already really good fit together, and then just like adding in like a little bit of at some point, I don't know who did it, it might have been the way the riff was written to begin with, but there's a lot of off beat things where it hits on like the and of one, I believe it is, instead of on one. So we take that riff, do it that way, and then we do it more straight ahead where it actually hits on the one.
Okay.
And that kind of stuff is the things that make something that you're going to do dozens of times during a song become more interesting.
Just
by
that
changing.
little bit of change
Or
to
like-
kind of grab somebody's ear
Yeah.
and pull them along.
We're switching from an 8th note to a 16th note and between sections to kind of open it up or
Okay.
tighten it up.
Yeah.
To sort of quicken a pace or sort of slow it down or draw it
Yeah.
out a bit more. Yeah, for sure. What are some of your favorite songs that you guys have written personally, and why?
My favorite song we wrote was called Henry's Embryo. It was the first song that we ever wrote as a band, and we wrote it really, really quickly. And it felt like something special when the three of us wrote a song for the first time.
You kind of could really feel that it was something that could continue on and just felt like a good moment to you.
Yeah, I'd never been in a band before, really. I'd like written songs with friends before, and we at the time had been playing with some other people in their old band that I kind of temporarily joined, and then one day we ended up having practice with just the three of us, and it was kind of an instant feel of how we were sort of locked in together.
So yeah, it was a lot easier.
How about yourselves?
Good answer. I
Yeah,
don't know
we'll
if
go
I
with
have
that.
a favorite.
Okay.
I would have to just think about it.
All right. You guys are currently...
Yeah, I have to think about it, and I don't want to do that.
Thinking's just too hard,
Yeah.
especially when you're a touring musician. There's way too much else going on, right?
There's actually
Yeah.
nothing going on. Most of
There's
the
a lot
time.
going on in the Wuthering, in the moors.
Yeah, dude, this Wuthering Heights, I'm like halfway through it, and there's a lot of shit going down right now.
Yeah, you guys are currently in the middle of a 30-some date tour. How's that going?
So far, so good. It's a lot colder here than I had planned, than I had packed for.
Me too.
Yeah, fall kind of hit pretty hard here.
That's okay though.
Yeah.
We're going south after this.
Yeah,
That's
we
good.
got across the border today
Yeah.
successfully.
Well, that's always a good feeling.
Yeah,
Have
I
you
mean-
guys been in Canada before?
Yeah, the last time that we tried to come to Regina, actually, we got turned away at the border. We had to
Ooh.
cancel a show and drive across North Dakota.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That's never any
So
fun
it was
at
a
all.
little
It
nerve-wracking.
actually was kind of fun,
Yeah, it was really
since
fun.
nothing like really bad happened, but at that
Mhm.
time it didn't feel good.
Yeah.
But now it's like a nice memory.
Yeah.
We have a really cool picture from it.
Yeah.
That's always fun. How's touring with Street Eater?
It's dope. We've known them for like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years maybe longer than that.
Oh, wow, so a pretty
John-
long time.
Yeah, we saw Megan, the drummer, play in this band called the Younger Lovers, who are still active. A long time ago, we saw them play in Olympia,
Yep.
and that's how we met.
2009.
That's where we met. We met Meg before we met John. I don't know how we stayed in touch, but we have a lot of mutual friends and like Shell Shag and
Yeah, and they always let us sleep at their house
Bands
when
like
we
Dead
come
Dog
through
and stuff.
California.
yeah. So, I
And
don't
they
know,
tour a lot.
They
They
tour a lot, and like we have the same buddies and interests.
run in
and
the same circle.
Yeah.
We hold the same morals.
Yeah.
Fit well together
Yeah.
on a bill, sort of thing.
Totally.
What's
on
your
a tour, especially.
And
Yeah,
even
of
at
course.
dinner, we had a great dinner.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
everything's
yeah.
going great.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Where do you guys go for dinner?
Some Indian place that was like really good.
Yeah, it was actually quite nice.
It's on like that main street. I don't know what it was called. You should go. Delish.
May have been there already, actually. Been to a couple of the Indian places in town. What's your tour must-have item?
Giant pillow. We have a giant pillow that's been in the van ever since our first tour, and it's the love of my life. I love you, giant pillow.
It was in my first ever room that wasn't a dorm room that I lived in by
Oh,
myself.
cool. It's pretty big. It's a big pillow. You can put it in front of you and just kind of fall into it and fall asleep, or you could do a side sleep, or you can use it to rest your arms. I also sometimes use it as a desk. If anything ever happened to it, I'd probably quit the band.
Other than
Just kidding.
other than our guitars and like the drum set, it's probably the one thing that has made it through our 3 vans and 12 years of touring. For some reason, we still have this pillow.
I love it. It's so comfy. My friend.
Is there any other items that need to be in the van, or
The pillow.
No.
No,
the
Just
pillow
the pillow.
is life? You love pillow.
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
What are your favorite places to tour?
We like to go everywhere. Today was really cool because, like I said, we've never been to Regina, so we've never done the drive from, where we got turned away last time, Portal, North Dakota, crossing over. We've never done the drive from Portal to Regina, and it was really beautiful. I could see for as far as the human eye possibly could, I think.
Yeah.
It was just nothing for a long
It's
time.
very flat here.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a lot
Really-
of farmland.
I really look forward to getting to that part of the country, kind of west of what's the
Part of-
province that is just east of here?
Just east of here?
Yeah,
East of here is Manitoba.
Yeah.
yeah.
Manitoba.
So west, if you drew a line from Manitoba down to Texas, that whole part of the country west of
Continent.
there, that whole part of the continent west of there, before you hit the coast, is like what I really look forward to. Not
Nice.
necessarily because of the shows, but I really just like the drives. I like that kind of. I like the big sky country.
Yeah, Mike gets really weepy about landscapes.
Yeah.
Beautiful landscape. Not.
I can understand that.
It's beautiful.
Land can be wondrous.
Yeah.
Are you guys heading out west at all?
Yep.
It's the general
BC?
direction we're going in.
You guys will love BC. If you
We're
haven't
not
been
going
already.
there on this tour. We're
Yeah.
just
Oh.
doing Edmonton and Calgary, and then headed back into the States from there.
But we've been.
Okay,
We've
so
been
then
to Vancouver.
you'll
a
see
bunch
some
of times.
mountains and whatnot while you're going through
Yeah.
Alberta then, which
Yeah.
is always nice. Some forest.
We'll
Yeah.
see some mountains once we head into Montana. But yeah, we've played Vancouver a few times, and it's always been
Wild.
really interesting.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a little bit of a break from our interview from the Screaming Females. I have a couple more questions for Marissa, Mike, and Jarrett, like what is the best Screaming Females tour story? What inspires them as musicians and outside of music, or once again, lack thereof? What are their interests outside of music, and what is the future of the band? So, before we get back into our interview, we need to get to our book review of the week, which, like we said earlier in the day, today is going to be Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. If you want to suggest a book to us for our book review of the week, you can do so by emailing us here with your book suggestion to desert.tiger.podcast@gmail.com. Once again, you can email your book suggestions for book reviews of the week to desert.tiger.podcast@gmail.com. We hope you keep those coming in, as next week's book review is actually going to be a fan suggestion, and we are very excited to have our very first fan suggestion book to be read. It's actually going to be an audiobook, like I had to do Fahrenheit 451, as I will be on the road. But have no frets, as the shows will be released on Tuesdays and Thursday. That's right, we have a Tuesday guest next week as well, but we will let you know who that is at the end of the episode. Without further ado, let's get into Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Fahrenheit 451 is a very well-written book that sort of takes place in the future in a somewhat dystopian society where houses are no longer burnable, they are now fireproof, and firemen now actually create fires and burn houses down rather than houses catching fire themselves. This is because the firemen are trying to hide knowledge and books. Books have been deemed as evil in this society and make people unhappy, apparently. So it is decided that the firemen are going to burn the books, and sometimes the people who own them or have them because they want to sacrifice. The world is one thing I noticed right away is the world is very closed off and broken, and you can tell right away that the most vibrant person in the book right away is Clarice, who opens up our main character Montag's eyes to the world and the possibilities within it, and to the fact that what he believes is true happiness is actually just something he has been handed, which is a kerosene hose and a large TV the size of his wall, to which his wife refers to as the family. Everyone seems to be very jaded in this world. At one point, Montag even cries out to a woman, you lost your first husband in a divorce, you lost your second husband in a war, and you lost your third husband when you put a bullet through his head. It shows that these people have actually no care and just seem to move on from the world around them and are just take what they are handed and accept it as happiness. They are afraid to go outside of the means of what they are told or what they are handed because it is unknown, and unfortunately books have become unknown except in a very select few groups of people. It was a very interesting read and I enjoyed it very much. It has a very it kind of has to say there's been a lot of book burning wannabes and people who have had book burnings in the past to try and hide certain knowledge that was against them or countered what they believed, so they destroyed it in a manner to try and create something that was easier for them to control. But as it always, life finds a way and literature finds a way through Montag and the people he encounters. It's a very good read, and I hope you would consider giving it a read, and as it is something that actually might be possibly relevant in a world where dictatorship seems to be possibly on the rise again. So we need to be educated and know that things like book burnings are very bad and need to be stopped and prevented. So we're not like the people in the book Fahrenheit 451 wishing that we would have fought against these oppressions and other things before they actually happen. I don't think it's actually going to happen in Canada. I hope not. But if you're somewhere where something like this ever does actually become a possibility, I hope you fight against it, and I hope you join the good fight. Because literature and knowledge is something that the world needs, and I believe that that is true happiness and joy, and sometimes it leads to unhappiness because there's a lot of evil out there, but you have to take the bad with the good. That is all I really have for the book review of the week this week. I gave Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury a solid 5 out of 5 stars, so I hope you will consider reading or listening to it on an audiobook. And we'll catch you next week with our book review of the week. What is the best screaming females tour story?
It's not the best by any means, but one of those times that we played in Vancouver, I stepped in human excrement.
Ooh.
And then didn't realize it at first, We just got in the van, and and I like put my feet up on the dashboard or something, and ended up smearing.
First you crossed your legs.
First I crossed my legs and rubbed it all over my pants. Then I put my feet up on the dashboard, and then Jared said, "What is that smell? It smells like asparagus."
And then it started to smell like cheesy broccoli
soup or something. And then we realized, and then I touched the bottom of my shoe, and it was like cold and wet and squishy.
Oh God!
And it started to really reek. Like people are like, "How did you know it was human poop?" You're like, "I know."
You know.
You just know.
And so then I realized it was just smeared all over the front of the van and all over my pants.
Oh my God!
And then so we pulled into a gas station. And Jared basically begged the people there to like lend us their like all-purpose cleaner and some
like their
paper towels,
cleaning supplies.
Almost all of the tour stories that we'd probably feel comfortable sharing with like someone who's interviewing us involve poop or vomit.
It's odd that that's
not because
what
there's
you're
anything
comfortable
super
with.
saucy. Well, it like some you're not gonna gossip.
Yeah.
Well, I don't expect you to.
Yeah,
No
you
throwing
would.
anyone on
Yeah,
the
when
From
I
bus,
US
right?
Weekly, what's going on here? We were just talking about poop.
When I walked into that gas station, I feel like normally if you walked into a gas station at 2:30 in the morning and said,
Shit.
"Can I use your cleaning supplies?" they would probably say no, but I think the look on my face said, "This guy really needs some cleaning supplies."
Don't worry that you probably
Meanwhile, I was
had.
in their bathroom washing the bottom of my shoe in their sink. And then we ended up we rarely stay in hotels, but that night we drove out of Canada, and got a room, and I just got in, and like luckily they had laundry there, and I just stayed up doing laundry.
I think we stepped in poop a bunch of times on that trip together.
Yeah, I started carrying an extra toothbrush on tour so that I can clean the bottom of my shoes
When you step in poop.
after I step in poop.
The
Because
screaming ladies poop tour.
when I walk, I look up for some reason, so I often miss the poop on the ground.
Marissa and I.
Luckily, Jared and I are always looking down.
You've learned from his mistakes.
No, so we just watch out for him while we're down there.
We just curled over a lot.
I just need them a few steps ahead.
Watch out.
What inspires you guys as musicians?
Other musicians.
Yeah, our friends who play music, and our friends who make art and like
Beautiful landscapes.
yeah, beautiful landscapes. Yeah.
Inspiration's overrated.
I was okay because I was actually gonna ask
A lot
what
of-
inspires you
a lot of-
outside
lay
of
it
music.
down.
A lot of making art. I feel like there's this story about all the inspiration and the sudden moments and whatever, but a lot of it is really just working.
Mm-hmm.
Hours and hours of work.
Yeah.
Every song that we record now, we go through many, many versions of. We play it out live. We bring it back to our rehearsal space, work on it again, do demos. It's I think a very small amount of art ends up being inspiration.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are under the misconception that like every time you sit down in front of like a painting or like a demo or something, you're just like just full of creative fever. And sometimes you're just like,
Sometimes you just force it.
yeah, you're just like, I gotta do this thing for like Joe,
Yeah.
and then you just do it, and like sometimes it ends up being good, and sometimes it's bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
But but that's in addition to what they already said about having very inspiring friends and music around you. But that only takes you so far, and then it just is.
It's just a kick in the butt.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Is having some hardworking individuals around you inspires you to be hardworking and makes you want to write, and then you kind of become your own inspiration, right?
Yeah, I'd say
In a
that's
way.
right.
Yeah, you got someone breathing down your neck.
Kids are coming for you.
Yeah.
Accountability as inspiration. Friends hold you accountable for making art.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Is you got to kind of keep up with everyone else and
Yeah.
stay in
And
the
we
loop.
like to treat our band as kind of like a competition. If a friend of ours puts out a really good album, then we set out to top that.
It's a good way to do it, I guess.
They can't put
Set
out
the
an
bar
album better
and-
than us. So we gotta go
How
record some
dare
better
they.
songs.
Yeah, like we're all equals here.
But we're here to win.
Yeah.
His musicians were equal, but we're number one.
Yeah, you got it.
Being number 2 is the first loser, and we have no interest in that. What are your guys' interests outside of music?
I like sewing.
I like napping.
Napping is amazing, so I can attest to that.
I like camping and hiking.
Good choice.
I make T-shirts,
What's a business?
screen printing, but I like to do it.
Hey,
that's
if you
cool.
enjoy doing it, it can be a hobby, right?
Yeah.
It's like I like woodwork, and I'm a carpenter technically. So,
Wow, cool. What can you make?
um,
Can you make a CD rack?
probably can. My
Cool.
girlfriend wants me to make like an entertainment rack for like her, like record player and like her system and everything. So
I
Yeah,
just did
because they
that.
don't
I
really
want
make
you to
any
do
of
that.
those
Sure,
anymore.
yeah, I want you to come over.
They don't really
my
make
house.
those anymore, so
Yeah. I just made
it's hard to
one
find a
out
good one.
out of black pipe.
Oh, really?
You know what I'm talking about?
It's classy. It looks nice.
I can understand that. Yeah, so you guys read or anything?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you guys had a couple books?
Wuthering Heights.
I'm like reluctantly reading Wuthering Heights. My dad told me to just watch the movie.
Books not
But-
as interesting?
No, I mean I'm invested in the drama now. I definitely don't read enough. That's for sure. But
Well, it's hard to when you're on the road constantly.
it shouldn't be as hard as it is for me, but it
There's
is.
always music playing, and there's
Yeah.
always like some conversation going on. I have a tough time reading on tour. I get more reading done at home for sure.
I get more reading done on tour.
And what do you guys like to read?
Jarrett's been on a bit of a sci-fi kick. He got me into the Ursula K. Le Guin series about the envoy. What's the series called? Left-Handed Darkness and the Dispossessed or whatever, are part of a series. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. I forget what it's called.
Maybe I'll have to look it up. Usually,
All I can think of right now is the Earthsea cycle, which is one of her other series,
Right.
and so my brain is only thinking of that.
I'll look her up. We do a Thursday book review
Oh, cool.
every week.
Oh,
so.
she's amazing. She's,
Street Eater's new album is actually a concept album based on her work.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
She was like a sort of utopianist, but not perfect utopias sci-fi writer.
Okay.
Having a lot to do with political structures and but like through personal characters, and she dealt a lot with subjects that are now sort of more in vogue to talk about, but
In the 70s was a lot different.
yeah, in 50s, 60s, 70s, yeah. Talking about race, talking about gender, things like that.
That's interesting. What is the future of the screaming females?
No future.
No
We'll probably just do the same thing we do every night, Pinky.
Take over
Try
the
and
world?
take over the world.
Nice. Your last release was in 2015. Any releases in the future expected since you guys dropped
Well,
the
our
single?
last release was Black Moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's just a that's
17.
just a single though. So
That's-
I'm just
that's all
wondering
we-
if
That's
we're
all you need.
That's all we
that
got.
matters anyway.
That's all we got on the horizon.
These days.
Right
okay.
now.
I was just
If you go
wondering
to
if it was a
Planet
part
Fitness,
of
a
something
lot of
bigger
the songs
or
they play doesn't even say album anymore.
Yeah,
it's
no.
just a single.
Who would
Yeah.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If you dropped a single every month,
Yeah.
that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
On Patreon.
Yeah. Maybe
Protest the
what
Hero tried doing that on Bandcamp for like 6 months in a
How'd it
row.
go?
I'm not sure how it went for him. There was a lot of people who were very negative feedback about the whole thing, just because they couldn't have the whole album at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, people like
That's
to
what-
binge watch.
Jay Retard
It's
did
true. A lot of people are very impatient, it seems.
it. Me too.
You guys seem to be kind of politically charged and involved. You guys recently wrote a song about the release of Chelsea Manning. You guys want to talk
The
about
song's
that?
not about.
It's not about that? You guys just
But we
released it for the...
Yeah.
But we
contributed
contributed
to the comp,
to the
yeah.
comp, yeah, for sure.
Okay, well that's
The-
always a good idea. You
yeah.
guys like... How are you guys like otherwise like politically involved?
I think just like, I mean, as far as lyrics are concerned, being in a band for 12 years, at some point you grow weary, or some people do grow weary about writing about yourself. It kind of seems like very indulgent, like trying to be more compassionate and giving, and think about like the people who are like doing us a great favor in listening to our music and being like, how can I like construct like some lyrics that are relatable universally, like across the board for everybody. So I think about that a lot, and you know, my personal life in the context of the reality that we all share. That's like the kind of stuff that I try to write about, rather than being like, I'm sad today, or like someone like so and so made me feel upset. Like those themes just seem kind of like trite and like boring to me at this point. And yeah, so it just so happens that I guess a lot of those things kind of like lean on some aspects of politics, but
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot to politics that's more than kind of what we're handed as being like political. So it's sort of hard to answer this question because
true.
It's like, do we all hate Donald Trump? Yes, but we've also all been doing a lot of stuff through the way we treat people and the way we encounter the world that I would think is political, but it's harder to put your finger on exactly what that is. It's harder to throw it as a slogan on a t-shirt or something.
Mm-hmm.
But the way we operate our band is becoming more and more different than the way like a lot of the small music industry operates. This show tonight, we booked ourselves, we put it out there on the internet, we said, can anybody help us in this area of the world? And some people wrote back and said, let's do it, and now we're here, you know? Mm-hmm. And that kind of, relationship is something that a lot of people are kind of like not as interested in because it doesn't have like the same definite financial whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of bands now that want to play New York, Chicago, LA, and then do festivals, you know? And they have management and they have lawyers and they have all these things. And I just think that while everybody needs to say fuck Donald Trump, we also need to be in our own personal lives and in our industries treating each other in a different way. And this kind of like everybody out for themselves trying to figure out how they can make a buck as quick as possible is not the kind of relationship that is going to foster a community, and most importantly, like not sustainable. So it's hard, like I said, it's hard to put a finger on exactly what that all means without like talking about it for hours and years.
Well, it takes a village sort of thing, right? If people are toxic, it's going to make the entire environment toxic, and who wants to be involved in that?
Yeah,
I think more and more today, basic human empathy is an extremely political statement, and I think that's something that we try and exhibit a lot of. And I think you see an extreme lack of empathy in the world, and it's kind of what brought us to where we are, into this trash fire of a world that we live in.
Well, that's it. As a lot of people less started thinking about we and more instead of me, and they're more out for personal gain than trying to make sure that everybody is in a good spot and surviving and healthy and happy. And
well, that's the American dream.
Unfortunately, it is, and it's the same thing up here. It's people making money off of the backs of the hardworking and those who actually believe in the dream. Yeah.
So I mean, it's important to stick to have a broad vision, but I think right now because because there's so many, between nuclear war, environmental disaster, capitalists like just accumulation destroying so many people. There's so many of these giant broad things that seem like either like they're just going to take us all down at any moment. But I think it's important to not forget that like the next person you meet or the person who helps you out with a show, how you treat them is going to be probably the most important thing that you can do today, or that I can do today.
Well, what you put out comes back, right? In a way,
sometimes.
sort of.
Yeah. Sometimes. Yeah, I mean, it's more...
Hopefully.
And not on, like, a one-to-one basis, but on, like, a wider scale.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to be one-to-one because it's like, I feel it's like you need 3 bad things for every one good thing because the good thing gets you through so much more.
I wonder if they have a ratio for that yet.
I don't know.
Like, actually, it is 3-to-1.
It actually is 3-to-1. Ding, ding, ding. You guys also were very vocal about the attack on Planned Parenthood and other social services, and raised quite a bit of money about that. Want to talk about the importance of services like Planned Parenthood in America and just in general?
I mean, that's... People trying to destroy Planned Parenthood isn't anything new. I think it just came into the spotlight once, like, we had a tyrannical dictator in an office.
Well, I think it's also partially the fact that you guys had 8 years of the other direction where there was a lot of help towards the whole, like, helping people who weren't ready.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of state by state, I guess. It depends where you live. I think
But
our friend Caleb what did Caleb used to do?
He moved to South Dakota because there at the time there was only one clinic in South Dakota that offered abortion services, and he lived in the middle in this really tiny town in South Dakota. They had organized with people, and they just basically spent all their time when they weren't just like working at this pizza place, putting together funds and transportation and all kinds of stuff for women who needed to get to those clinics. Or that clinic, or get them across the border, depending on where they were in the state. But, I mean, it's coming up right now because it's not even worth getting all into, but essentially it's going to be much harder for women to get birth control, which is like guaranteed under the Affordable Care Act because of exemptions for religious reasons, not just as an organization, but as somebody who owns a business. You can say that you have a religious objection to birth control and not provide it to your employees. So there's a big attack right now. And ultimately, all these arguments, the most important thing to remember is that bodily autonomy is like the basis of freedom for people. And that's why when we put people in jail is to deny them the right to their own bodies. So if you tell somebody who can have children that they must have children, you're also denying them their autonomy to their body, and it's essentially just a different sort of prison.
It's like the only thing you have.
It is. It's your own choice, and it's your own control.
It's the only thing you show up. It's the only thing you show up with, and the only thing you leave with.
You got to take good control of it, and why should somebody else be telling you what you can and can't do with it?
Unless you're on a makeover show.
Well, of course. But those, you kind of just sign away your rights.
Yeah. It's a damn shame.
Damn shame. They just took away everything, and they put on makeup, and now I just... self-confidence is all fucked. All right, I think that's pretty much all I have for you guys today, since the music's probably about to start. So before we get,
I'm glad we could.
Yeah, sorry about the confusion.
Thanks a lot.
No worries. Yeah. I'm glad we could pull this off. It was nice meeting all of you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Nice having you on the show.
That was my fault about the confusion.
No worries at all. I hope you guys have a great show tonight, and I hope you have a good rest of your tour.
Oh, hell yeah.
All right, awesome. All right, huge shout out to Marissa, Mike, and Jarrett of the Screaming Females for joining us when they were in Regina recently and played the club on Sunday evening. They put on a great show, and so did Street Eater. If you are in Missoula this evening, you can catch them at the Union Club. You can catch them in Washington, in either Spokane or Seattle on the 13th or 14th. On the 15th, they're playing Mississippi Studios in Portland, Oregon. On the 16th, Outer Space in Arcata, California. The 17th, Starline in Oakland, California. And they also have a bunch of shows from the 18th to November 1st. So if you are in California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Florida, or North Carolina, you should definitely check these guys out, as both acts are fantastic, and they usually play with great opening acts as well. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Desert Tiger Podcast, and thank you, the listener, for joining us here once again on the Desert Tiger Podcast, because it is truly you that gives us the ability to do these interviews, and interviews musicians as big as the Screaming Females. We are very excited to announce that our next show on Tuesday will be with University of Regina Rams quarterback Noah Picton. We hope that you rate, review, and subscribe to the show on either iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher. And until next time, I am your host, Colton Geschwantner, and whoop whoop!